continuing with the murders behind closed doors, I believe. And yes, this is my new background for October. Photographs are sent or could be established far from adding investigation. The picture and its anonymous inscription merely confuse the situation further. Almost a decade later, and the police are no closer to solving the case of DuPont de Loomis. Oh, I forgot. I'm trapped. I forgot I was trapped. Oh no, and I lost my page. Oh yeah, I can cuss on this. Fuck! Ah, damn it, I found it. Doesn't feel very hot. Or it's just really cold out. Can't decide. Ooh. Alexa, set a 15-minute timer.
15 minutes. Starting now.
But it's way too uncomfortable if my hair is stuck like that. My neck is at 50%, which is good. Not great, but good. Okay. Almost a decade later, the police are no closer to solving the case of DuPont de Loomis family. In truth, there are far more questions than answers. Is Xavier the brutal killer of his entire family? And if so, why? We know that his marriage was not perfect union that the couple carefully portrayed. Angus had complained online that there is no more tenderness between us, no more attention, no more softness, no more sex. She went on to say that her husband had even claimed if we could all die tomorrow, that would be better. So did Xavier all betray his family only to commit suicide a few days later? It would explain his lack of interest in covering his tracks. But if that is the case, where is the body? There would be no point in him attempting to hide his death. And if he had killed himself while out on the mountain trails, surely someone would have stumbled upon it by now. Why send the strange letter claiming his involvement in the DEA and the subsequent need to enter witness protection? If this were truly the case, Oh, it is so dark. Hang on. I'm gonna have to fix this. Better. Not 100%, but better. Okie dokie. Let's continue with unresolved mysteries. Okay. There we go. So much better. Why send the strange letter claiming his involvement in the EDA and the subsequent need to enter witness protection? If there was truly the case, then any commission with his relatives would have been utterly forbidden. If the family had indeed left France for a new life in America, who were the bodies buried under the trenches? No conclusion DNA testing was carried out, and the remaining family members were never given the opportunity to verify the corpse. Considering the complexity of the case, the bodies were revealed for burial remarkably soon after their discovery. The question continues to mount up, but Frustratingly, answers are not forthcoming, even though sights of Xavier, a man thought to be the missing father, was arrested in Glasgow, Scotland as recently as 2019. Initially, the situation looked promising since his fingerprints appeared to be a match. However, DNA testing proved it to be nothing more than another disappointing dead end. At the end of the portal letter from Xavier to his relatives, having explained the reason for their sudden departure, he sent his love and signs off. We'll have so many stories to tell you later on. It seems the world will have to wait to hear them. Flowers, candles, toys, and photographs are left outside the family home by friends and neighbors. Relatives and friends come out of the church of Notre Dame on the 30th of April 2011 after the private funeral ceremony of the Dupont de Ligonnès family members. A fruitless search to May 2013. Yet another search is carried out, but once again it ends in disappointment. Bones. 28 April 2015. Bones are discovered close to the Xavier's disappeared alongside a bill dated 2011. Further disappointment. 1 May 2015. DNA analysts prove that the bones do not belong to Xavier. A mysterious package. 11 July 2015. A photographer of Arthur and Bonnets is mailed to a journalist in Nantes. I'm still alive is written on the reserve. The Monster Raid. 9 January 2018. Armed police raid the Santon Desert Ministry in Reekburn, August, after worshippers claim to have spotted him pretending to be a monk. It turns out to be another wild goose chase. That has to get old real fast. Okay, a sign in Scotland, 11 October 2019. A man suspected of being Xavier is arrested at Glasgow airport. It is thought that he is using stolen French passport. More DNA tests, 12 October 2019. Further tests are carried out only to reveal that the suspected is not Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès. Unsolved Mysteries. 8 July 2020. Netflix released an episode of Unsolved Mysteries entitled House of Terror, featuring the strange death of the Dupont Ligonnès family and the disappearance of their rancher Xavier. Almost a decade later, and the police are no closer to solving the case of the Dupont de Ligonnès family. In truth, there are far more questions than answers. The Dupont children, during happy times, messages were stuck on the door of the Dupont family house as part of a silent march to mark the first anniversary of the murders. We have a new case. Finally, we have a new case. The Atlanta children murders re-examined. 40 years after the Atlanta children murders. Shock the world. Shock the world. There are still many unanswered questions. And when even the victims' mothers are unconvinced by Wayne Williams' guilt, it's time the case was re-examined. Williams was convicted of the murders of Natalie Carter and Jimmy Ray Piner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's about 16 photos on this page. Okay, I'm going to read the quotes. The Black community of Atlanta were both terrified for their families and furious at the lack of action from the police. Witnesses are called to testify that they saw Williams with one of the victims, Billy Burnett, before his disappearance. When Wayne Williams was charged and convicted of murdering 2 young adults, it also ended a 2-year investigation to the killing of at least 28 African American children. Holy fuck, that's messed up. Damn, that's just so fucking messed up. Okay, let's continue before I have a complete freak out. I don't care what kind of children they are. That's messed up. Don't be going around killing. Don't. Make good choices, please. And try not to do whatever it is some of these people do. What the heck is wrong with some people? I'm not even sure if he's guilty or not because I haven't read the whole case, but dang, that's just too many that are like gone because of someone. I have to read the whole case to know for sure if he did it or if they're just framing him, because a lot of framing did happen back then before like DNA and stuff happened. My poor skeleton earrings are just like, dude, we want to be seen, but we keep getting hidden by our hair. Okay. Where was I before I got distracted? I'm on an ADHD medication, but it's taking it'll take a couple of weeks for me to get to a normal level. And plus, that's just messed up. The assumption began when he had murdered them all, but as time went by, people began to doubt the conviction and take Williams' protection of innocence a little more seriously. The girl first struck in the summer of 1979 when the bodies of 2 14-year-old boys were discovered in a remote wooded area of Atlanta. Edward Smith had vanished on the 21st July and had been shot in the back. Alfred Evans went missing 4 days later. This case isn't boring me, I'm just tired today. Only not to be found, struggling and abandoned on nearby waterland. Then 10 days later, a third victim went missing, but this time the body of Milton Harvey was not located until 2 months later. So far, the children all had been young teenagers, but on 21 October, 9-year-old, oh boy, I'm saying that because I am so bad at this name. Okay, YUSUF Bell failed to return home after running an errand for a neighbor. Back in the day when you could run errands for people and you weren't as worried, and nowadays when you tell people to run errands, you have everyone go with kids. You don't let kids go off by themselves. You don't let them ride their bikes by themselves. You have an older sibling. You have everyone watch out. It's a whole thing. And trust me, like, I would not let my child run errands, but back then you would. I used to be able to run errands back in the day. Okay, witnesses last saw the boy climbing into a blue car. Here's a tip, don't take a ride from anyone. Not a stranger, and if you have a gut feeling something bad's gonna happen, do not go. Trust me, I've learned my lesson on that one. It was a fucking bad decision. I should have never have done it. And it was so fucking stupid. I wanted to go back and slap myself and tell myself, you're an idiot. Like, stop being such a fucking dumb ass and listen to your gut. His strangled corpse was discovered. And if you're a little kid, you can still listen to your gut. But do not take rides from strangers or a person who you're not sure about. And I'm sorry that if you still have relatives out there or have anyone who's still alive, I'm sorry that this happened to you and your family. Alexis, stop. I'm gonna keep this on just a little while longer because my neck is still hurting. Okay. Was discovered 18 days later in an abandoned school, but police failed to spot a connection to the previous children deaths. The abduction and murder of a female child, 12-year-old, I want to say Angel or Angel Liner, confused the matter further. Just how many children killers were there hunting across the Atlanta region? 11-year-old Jeffrey Matthews was next to disappear just 1 week after Angela's murder. Yeah, this killer doesn't seem to have a pattern at all. Like, if you're, oh wow. Usually they have a pattern, from what I understand, what I can comprehend. His little body would not be found for another 11 months, making cause of death an impossible task. A further 11 young victims were snatched and murdered before the year was out, including the youngest victim, 7-year-old Tony Wilson, who witnesses stated had been abducted from her home by 2 men. While the majority of the children had been strangled, 2 boys, Eric Midler Brooks and Patrick Rogers, died from blunt force trauma to the head. 9-year-old Anthony Carter, meanwhile, had been stabbed multiple times. Did I list? Doesn't make any sense at all. On at last 40 occurrences, the cause of death remained undetermined due to the deteriorate status of the victims' bodies. Finding a recoverable pattern was going to be extremely difficult. Within a year of the first deaths, the victims began turning up at a rate of roughly 1 per month, starting with the abduction of 14-year-old Louis Getter. His best friend Terry Pugh was murdered 19 days later. The Black community of Atlanta were both terrified for their families and furious at the lack of action. Parents started picking up their children from school and stopped them from playing on the waste ground near their houses. The fear was palpable as the people demanded justice and protection. Over 100 of Atlanta's finest officers interviewed 20,000 people face-to-face, while 15,000 more individuals were questioned over the telephone. Ronald Reagan, the president at the time, pleaded a substantial grant to help fund. Were the Ku Klux Klan involved in the Atlanta children murders? Oh boy. That would be, they're a messed up group as it is, but okay. The investigation, while 35 FBI agents were sent to Atlanta in the hopes that a specially crafted task force utilizing the latest technology and profiling techniques might solve the case and end the Tajan wave of fear sweeping Georgia. Meanwhile, bounty hunters came from far and wide in order to grab the share of 1,000 rewarded money and became an international hero, and local residents doubting the capability of lawmen. walked the streets at night, armed with baseball bats, desperately searching for the man who was killing their children. Curfew was imposed, but still the children went missing. The police had very little to go on. In a desperate bid to claim the media frenzy, someone released a vital piece of information. Okay. Now we're back and ready. I took off my wrap, yes. Okay. Okay, scene of crime investigation had managed to recover a... Oh, okay. Curfews were... Nope. Someone released a vital piece of information. Scene of crime investigators had managed to recover a selection of hair and fibers from a few of the bodies. And this, they believed, would invisibly lead them to the culprit. Two types of fibers were particularly interesting: yellow-green nylon and violet. The coarse yellow-green fibers were thought to have originated from a rug or carpet and were immediately taken by the FBI, who determined that it had been manufactured by Woolman Inc., a textile company in Boston. Further analysts revealed the dye used tracking the fibers to a carpet manufacturer in Dalton, Georgia. The carpet, known as Blackshire, was made in a variety of colors, this one being English olive. Further fibers were identified as rayon, the type of material used to make car mats. So, car mats. The decision to reveal their one clue was an unadmitted disaster, since the killer had now been warned. The murders kept occurring, but from February 1981 were no longer dumped on open waste grounds. Now the killer was disposing of the body in the nearby river, thereby washing away the only evidence the police had to link the crime to the criminal. Shortly after this ill-conceived revelation, the victim topology alerted. The last teenager to be murdered was 17-year-old William Burnett, who disappeared on 11 May 1981, rather the remaining 6 victims on 11 May 1980, while the remaining 6 were all in their 20s: Eddie Duncan, Laura Rogers, Michael Mitchin, and Jimmy Ray Payan, ranged in age from 20 to 23, and were all either stabbed or assassinated. Asphyxiated. Then in April of the same year, 28-year-old John Potter went missing. Once recovered, his body was discovered to have been covered in multiple stab wounds, the victim of a frenzy attack. This was quite different to the majority of the other murders, and yet the crime would later be attributed to Wayne Williams, having given away their best evidence to link the murder together. The FBI and police unites decided to begin patrolling the length of the chaotic river on one of the killer's furniture dumping grounds, since the media exposed. In the early hours of 2020 May 1981, a team of officers were staking out the self-drive bridge that spanned the Catachockic River. 2 Atlanta policemen and 2 FBI agents were chatting to one another as they patrolled the river edges. When they heard a loud splash in the darkness, while two men ran back to the road in order to seal off the bridge, the other officer dived into the water in a desperate bid to find what had been dropped in there. Unfortunately, it was impossible to see anything in the early morning, half late, and it would have been another 2 days. Josh Douglas, former FBI expert on serial killers, prepares to give testimony on the importance of a killer's MO. Like many others, he does not believe Williams murdered all the children in the Atlanta case. Murder-oriented. Leopards don't change their spots. So the saying goes. The same could be said for serial killers when it comes to their particular habits. By the late 1970s, the FBI Behavioral Scientists United had gathered together a vast amount of information regarding the conduct of a serial killer. It soon became apparent that even the most outrageous of criminals' behavior can be categorized into certain particular patterns. However, each individual killer will carry his own unique methodology known as his modus operandi. What the fuck does that even mean? The likelihood of a criminal altering his MO during killing sprees is infinitesimal.